2 points. A Westerosi bicycle is a sex position. That's the one. And number 2, this is a shitty answer, but I completely agree with everything you two said. I want all of that for season 2.
All right, welcome everyone to another TV Club bonus episode where we will be reviewing the first season of House of the Dragon. And today I'm joined by an amazing panel of guests, each of whom will be vying for the Iron Throne, who will win this Game of Thrones during our discussion. And first up is Miltos Yerolemou. He is our resident sword master, our wise voice, and he's making his first appearance on the show. He's an actor best known for his role as Syrio Forel in Game of Thrones, the television series, and he's also appeared in Star Wars, The Force Awakens, The Danish Girl, and numerous other films and television shows. Very nice to have you here, Miltos. How are you?
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
it feels like a long time coming, but I'm so glad that we're doing this. I'm very great. Obviously, I was excited to watch the show. And yeah, it was very, listen, I'm going to talk about it, so I'm not going to tell you what I think about it now, am I?
We're going to save that for a little bit later. And next up is our assassin, the best assassin in Westeros since Arya Stark, MJ Kuhn, making her second appearance on the show in as many days. She's the author of Among Thieves, her debut novel, and the follow-up, The Thick as Thieves, is out in July. So it's been a while, MJ. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been like a whole 12 hours since I last saw you. Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me on this one.
Yeah, happy to have you here. And last up, our resident White Walker, Liam Quane, making his third appearance on sffaddicts. He's the author of Road to Juno and is our most humble TV and film critic, making his return to tear apart the show, making beautiful faces as well for anyone watching. But it's wonderful to see you again, my friend. How are you?
You too. I'm fine. Thanks for having me on, and I can't wait to hear everyone's opinion of this show because I'm so excited to talk about it. It's unbelievable.
Oh, all right. Well, full spoilers ahead. Let's get our giddy reactions going. Just to get things started, I would like to know from each of you, what is your personal relationship with A Song of Ice and Fire as a book series or Game of Thrones as a TV series, just the franchise as a whole? So MJ, I'll toss it to you first.
Yeah, so I was like a little late to the party with the A Song of Ice and Fire in general. Obviously, I think the first book was published like literally the year I was born. So I wasn't quite on the money with those. But I did also miss the whole first season of the show. And then I had a friend get me to watch the show by letting me know that Sean Bean is in it. He was one of my favorite actors. And the first episode I happened to sit down and watch at their house was season 1, episode 9. So in the first episode, I got to watch.
Wow.
No, because they were just watching it at their house. It was in college. I just like sat down with them and I got to watch my favorite actor's head chopped off in the very first episode that I watched. Wow. So I then boycotted it for like another 3 months before finally relenting. And then I've since read all the books, watched, the entire show, enjoyed most of it, and then watched House of the Dragon. So yeah.
That is, wow. I'm sorry that that's your initiation into this
right.
franchise.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of
Sean
fitting,
Bean.
though.
Yeah, he gets killed really fucking
I know.
fast.
I should have known better. He always dies, but
Boromir, Ned Stark, he's got a bad run, poor guy. James Bond, he was a villain in Goldeneye. Yeah. Oh man. And Miltos, what about you? What is your relationship with the franchise?
So obviously I got to know George's books because I was going to audition. So the very first time I'd heard about it is when you get your breakdown from your agent saying this is the casting, this is what it's based on, this is the character, blah, blah, blah. So obviously I went to get the book to have a look at, the very first one, the Game of Thrones. And that was my first introduction because I was like really wanted to get a job. And then of course, working on it, getting to know some of the fans and the fandom in general, and their expectations and their the way that all fans do when you have something which is kind of a world created is that they kind of make it their own, of course. Mm-hmm. And so that's my, and of course I read the first 3 books as well. And I really like the writing, but as with everything, I couldn't quite continue knowing that there may not be an ending. So I stopped at book 3.
Mm-hmm. And just out of curiosity, 2 questions. When it came to your character, Syrio Forel, at what point did you find out that he's going to die? Did you read the book first, or did you read it in the script?
No, I read the book first, because I think I read the book before I had my casting, I think, or at least the casting process took a little while, a couple of months. So I read it in that time. So I knew that the trouble is, no one really ever said he's dead until a year after we finished filming the first season. And the very first thing that Pat, George's wife, said to me when she met me, because we were going for lunch, was, "I've never forgiven George for killing off your character." So yeah, it's safe to say he's dead.
Oh, yeah. From Pat's mouth, he's dead. Oh,
yeah.
And then on top of that, did you ever watch the show, or were you kind of in that position of like, I acted in it, but I wasn't really watching the final product?
No, the great thing about leaving after the first season is that I didn't have any of the same thing. I don't watch my stuff. I know a lot of actors say this, and people always go, "I don't understand it. Why don't they watch their stuff?" I watch it when we do ADR, when you're in the studio having to do the additional voice recording. And obviously with Game of Thrones, because of going to fan conventions, I haven't been able to avoid it. So I know my episodes like the back of my hand, but most of the stuff that I do, I never really watch. The good thing about not being in it anymore is that I could actually become a fan. And I did become a fan. And like, I was watching it avidly as soon as it aired, just so that I didn't get spoiled. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And I was really looking forward to House of the Dragon. Not necessarily because, I was feeling excited about a new Game of Thrones. I'm one of those people that thinks that was that, and let's move on and find something else to really get excited about. So I don't get excited like that. But when I saw the cast, most of whom I know really well, especially the main leads, I thought this is going to be fantastic.
Awesome. And Liam, what about you?
Fantastic.
And what's your relationship with the series or the franchise as a whole?
I have a strange relationship with all this type of stuff, because as I've said about, like, every time I'm on any show, I always say I'm new to the book world. It's been like 2 years of being new to the book world. Read books through high school and then stopped, and then decided one day just to read for fun. And then I read a couple, like 6 or 7, and then wrote a book because it was fun. So I haven't read any Game of Thrones at all. I've heard stories of the stories, and I've seen interviews and stuff like that. But because I'm a filmmaker, that was kind of the part that drew me towards the actual show. It wasn't FOMO so much as, what the fuck's everyone talking about? So to see, and
morbid curiosity.
College,
like a morbid curiosity about whatever.
Yeah. I'm very contrarian, me, so I usually don't like popular things, but I did end up liking Game of Thrones mainly for its writing and performances, and I wasn't really fascinated by the deaths. A lot of people were. Everyone's talking about how anyone could die and stuff like that, but who wasn't gonna die? There was like a set of characters you knew just were never gonna, and they did do the fake out with Jon Snow, but it did make me laugh out. Like, they shouldn't have ended the series, like, had a big break in between on that death, because just for the actors' safety, for the harassment they would have gotten, which I think they did. So yeah, I'm very business side of it, like looking at it from a professional lens, but also House of the Dragon I've kind of become a quick fan of. Like that's kind of my. I like the dragons. The HBO definitely know everyone likes the dragons. That's definitely like the first thing they'll have had on the checkboard.
Yeah. Well, for you, when it came to Miltos brought it up earlier, and very cool that you. I know this. A lot of this show gets filmed in the UK, so the film and TV community in the UK, with actors like Paddy Considine and Matt Smith and those kinds of folks, is like Liam's mentioning to me. It's just like the sort of familiarity with it, and Miltos, you too, but. Liam, for you, when it came to HBO announcing, okay, we're going to do a prequel after the sourness of season 8 of Game of Thrones, how did you personally feel about that ending? And then how did you feel when they announced that they were going to do a prequel show?
I enjoyed the ending when I first watched it. As I said, I'm a contrarian, but but I was also writing it in my head as I was going, so I knew how I wanted it to end. Can I say that like really quickly? Just how I think it should have ended.
Let's hear Liam's revision.
Without reading any of the books. The Night King and his army should have won in their battle. He should have been the main villain, and he should have been Rhaegar Targaryen. And Jon's arc would have been getting rid of his father, he's finally gotten, who's come back as a magical monster because the desire to have the throne was so great that when his dragon glass armor was smashed into his chest, he resurrected a zombie to come and take the throne back by force. And Jon would have had to put his own bastardness ahead of his happiness. That was what I thought was going to happen, and it didn't. And now, from looking at it from a political point of view, I do think it could have been handled a tiny bit better, but it was always kind of going to end the way it was just because of the political divide between the creators of the show and the creator of the books, because they don't agree. It's not that they're enemies. They aren't on the same political side, are they? It's neoliberalism versus actually like full left-wingery. So the neoliberal side was the television show and the showrunners and the television producers. They don't like breaking cycles, so it does that's just because it's safer. It sounds safer. So having the breaker of chains and the wheel breaking dragon lady be a fascist made total sense. Like from season 4, I knew that was what was going to happen, because she says in season 4 she felt nothing when she broke up with the guy with the sword. When she said that, I went, "Oh, she's a sociopath." And so they kind of follow through on that. Sorry, that did take a little longer than I thought.
I think we should end the podcast here, because that is the last word in Game of Thrones season 1 to 8.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
Especially now watching House of the Dragon, and how it reminds what Game of Thrones did very, very well is that it kept its kind of supernatural kind of abilities and vibe kind of a secret. We never really got to really ever understand the whole thing with the Lord of Light and Melisandre. All of that is like, I still have no idea what, as far as TV show is concerned. But even though there isn't very much of it in House of Dragons, because it's much more, it's like a chamber piece, it's much more intimate. The dragons
are
just
front and center.
Just takes the top of your head off your, because it means that really anything can happen, really.
Yeah, for sure. And MJ, what did you think when they decided we're going to make this prequel show? It's going to be about dragons, and it's going to be about the Targaryens and these weird incestuous white-haired people, silver-haired people. Sorry,
Weird
Liam.
incestuous silver-haired people. Yeah. So I did not love season 8. I go into everything. My thought process is I always say I love to love things, right? So I always try to find like the thing that I love about it. And so like the first couple episodes when people were kind of already hemming and hawing, and I was like, no, it's gonna be great. It's setting up all this awesome stuff. And I was disappointed with how it ended. To the point that I used to rewatch the entire series, like, pretty regularly. And then after season 8, I have not rewatched it all the way through yet because it's hard to motivate yourself to watch all of it when, like the payoff that you're hoping for wasn't what you were hoping for. So when they announced that they were doing a prequel, my first thought was like, oh, a money grab, cool. And I honestly wasn't necessarily planning on watching it, but it's actually I think it's kind of cute. So my parents don't do fantasy sci-fi. My dad does a little, my mom doesn't at all. But they started watching Game of Thrones maybe around season 4 because my sister and brother-in-law and my husband and I watched it obsessively. And that was all we would talk about when we would get together. So they literally started watching it just so they could talk to us and participate in these conversations. And so when they announced that they were going to do this prequel series, my dad started floating hey, so you guys excited? We can do watch parties for House of the Dragon. And I was like, we're going to have to watch it. And then now I'm glad I did. So
Your dad just wants to be included. That's all.
I know. And I love that. I love that so much, which is why I was like, okay, we're definitely going to watch it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's really cool because my mother-in-law, she's Ecuadorian, but she read all of the Game of Thrones books in Spanish, or the Song of Ice and Fire books. And then she watched the show and everything. I'm just like, you're just a middle-aged Ecuadorian woman, and is you're really into this. And she's like, yeah, I just love all the political drama and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I was like, dude, this is a game changer. It's I'm gonna start buying you fantasy books.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm gonna start buying you fantasy books in Spanish for your birthday and stuff. So
yes.
Yeah, I got her
bonding moment that you had.
Hell yeah. But before this, it was I read some of the A Song of Ice and Fire books in high school and university, but I think I stopped at 4 and never read A Dance of Dragons. And it's just kind of been this continuous thing of like Hugh Miltos is I don't know how much I want to get invested in it again if I know that it's not finished yet. So it's once the 6th book comes out, it's okay, I'll pick up book 5 and then I'll read book 6 as well. But I love the TV show, and then getting to the end of it, my wife and I were kind of just we just didn't care anymore by the end. It's not even that I was disappointed or I loved it or anything like that, but I was just huh, it's just this mute feeling about it, or I was which is for me is kind of the most terrible feeling as a fan of something, to come to the end of it and be okay. Be I will happily walk away from this. And that's why I was kind of a little bit hesitant when they announced House of the Dragon, because like you, MJ, I thought, okay, another money grab, but they are pulling from some interesting source material with Fire and Blood. And I do like the dragons,
which we know how it ends, so it makes it much easier.
Exactly. It's I know Fire and Blood is a 2-part book, but at the same time, it's that book ends and it feels a little bit more definitive. So at the very least, it's okay, they have some source material. It's not like the Rings of Power where they're just kind of pulling things out of their ass from some vague sense of the Silmarillion. It's we don't have the rights to it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say they couldn't use the Silmarillion. That was, yeah.
But, it's they're we're doing I don't know, a Spark Notes version of the Silmarillion in TV form. But after watching the House of the Dragon, we'll get into first impressions. I really loved it. It was a lot of what I loved about Game of Thrones, and the kind of thing that they really just shit the bed on towards the end, which is the political stuff. I love the interhouse fighting and all of the political machinations and stuff like that, and the way that these different houses really just use characters and environments and situations just screw each other over in the most, satisfying ways. And House of the Dragon, like you said, Miltos, it's like a chamber drama. It's like much more intimate. And that intimacy, I think, really lends itself well to characters that you can get invested in. There's not a huge cast. We will get into it later, but there is the big time jump in the middle of the season. But the cast is mostly the same. The players are mostly the same. We just get to see them develop over the course of time. And so I think there's a lot more there in terms of being able to invest in these people and being able to invest in the way that they interact with each other. And there's a lot of like gross shit. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. There's a lot of dragons. There's a lot of sex, of course. It's a Game of Thrones kind of thing. A
lot of very violent childbirth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, my
a lot of it.
Yeah, I was like, man, my wife's childbirth was like easy peasy compared to this horrible shit.
Modern medicine, baby.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, please don't do a C-section, please don't. But overall, I felt like the intimacy of it lent itself really well to what Game of Thrones had kind of lost by the end, which is just like too broad and everything kind of getting muddled and the investment losing itself in the course of a story that also lost itself. So it's like, for me, coming from, at the end of Game of Thrones to come into House of Dragon with some hesitancy and then coming out of it and thinking like, okay, I'm down. I'll watch season 2. I'm really good on this. Miltos, what about you? What did you feel in terms of like first impressions after watching this season?
Yeah, I feel very much like all of those things. I think my expectations being subdued, like the rest of us, meant that. But that thing about the knowing the cast and going, I have no idea. I don't know anything about this story. I didn't read Fire and Blood, and I didn't find out anything about it. And then watching how well the story was told, and what was very interesting. And I know this may be incredibly controversial, but watching it with Rings of Power side by side, I don't know what Amazon were thinking. I really don't know. But the trouble is, I think maybe seeing Rings of Power in isolation, which is very hard to do, of course, with everything we know and the things we've watched, and I couldn't bear to watch it. I was like, what is going on? What have you done? And not like in any kind of like profound way, but I really believe that Rings of Power relied on the spectacle of how well they kind of painted the world, and then completely didn't care about either the script or the actors.
Yep.
Because both were like, who cares? But in comparison, it made House of the Dragon feel like the most sophisticated piece of drama I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I think that isn't always the case with the show, because having thought about it, there's a couple of moments where I thought, okay, all right, fine. But because they decided to take their time, I didn't care about the pacing. I thought the pacing was perfect, to be honest. I wanted it to be slow because there ain't going to be much of this show. I don't believe that's going to be more than probably 3 seasons. If they're smart, I would love to think that they can do it in 3 seasons. But I think setting up the characters was really important. And I love the changes they made about making Alicent. I mean, in fact, everyone brought like Paddy, as George R.R. Martin said himself, he didn't write these characters in a particularly empathetic way. You know, it's kind of history, isn't it? It's written like history, and people have recounted what happened. But those characters, those actors brought so much life to those characters. Viserys, I mean, that last episode of his, wow. I mean, and literally like he didn't even have half a face, and he brought so much, because it was horrific, but he brought so much pathos, and it was really heartbreaking. And I think if they can do that in this show, if they can kind of keep creating those moments, then it will be absolutely fine. And the set pieces won't be important. They'll be important because they'll be thrilling and exciting. But the thing that we'll remember is how we felt when we watched it, because that's the only thing that matters. I've been at home a lot recently, and I've been watching movies, and it's amazing how boring most of the stuff is. It's like, wow, really? This is the best you could do? So I really think it's a good show. I'll be very interested to see what happens that Miguel has left, because I think he is instrumental in the emotional heart of that season. I really believe that that's what he brought to that show.
Yeah, kind of balancing the character and the emotion with the big set pieces, but not letting either thing overshadow each other. And I like what you...
The double act between Ryan and him, it always felt like Ryan was like the brains, and he was like the heart of the season.
Yeah, well, hopefully they can. We'll get into hopes for season 2, and hopefully they can keep that up. But I like how you say the comparison of like this parallel viewing experience of Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, because for me it was exactly the same as like Rings of Power on a Friday, House of the Dragon on a Sunday. And it's like the taste of Rings of Power would like linger until I watch House of the Dragon. And then I watch House of the Dragon, I'm like, oh damn, that's like just like a nice bottle of Merlot, It's like, get that taste of Rings of Power out of my mouth for a minute. Because I call it, like we did a review panel earlier this week, and I called it, it's just like, it's all style and no substance, And it's like Rings and House of the Dragon, for me, was a very good marrying of style and substance. So it's like I felt like that balance was there a lot more. MJ, what's your first impression of the show?
Yeah, well, I'm going to chime in on the Rings of Power thing, because I haven't finished watching it yet. I've only seen the first 3 episodes. I've been told, because I'm a pretty big Tolkien fan, I've been told episode 5 will piss me off. So I just kind of haven't watched anymore. But a large part of why is because I started watching House of the Dragon, and it just felt so much more lived in. You know what I mean? Like I felt more like I was connecting with the characters more, and it just had like that, oomph that was missing. But yeah, so first impression, I really enjoyed this show. I do think it regained a lot of the elements that were missing in the last season of Game of Thrones. Really character driven, back to like focusing on politics. Because with Game of Thrones, my controversial take on that series is that my favorite character, not like person, was Littlefinger. I loved Littlefinger because every time that asshole shows up, something's going down, or he's pulling some strings, right? He's about to do something weird that's going to show up like a season later, right? And so like the episode when he died, I got like 20 text messages from all my friends like, ha, sucks to be you, your favorite just died. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But in my opinion, that is when the show kind of lost its mojo for me, because that's when the political machinations stopped.
It was all Littlefinger.
It wasn't, but it was like, you know what I mean? Then we just had everyone team up like the Avengers to go fight the snow zombies. Like it was just not the same show anymore. And I feel like the very morally gray, everyone's kind of a bad guy. Everyone, you know what I mean? Like everyone's got some nuance to them. I think that is really returned with House of the Dragon. And I think the actors are doing just an absolutely phenomenal job. I know we're going to talk about the time jump later. I'm generally like really picky in my brain about like when they recast an older or a younger version, because a lot of times like it's not quite, it was great. Every single one of them, I feel like was like, oh my God, like side by sides. You could tell me that this was the same person aged up if I didn't know they were actors. And I'd be like, yeah, I believe you. So yeah, first impressions, I'm very much enjoying it. I'm excited for season 2. So
Cool. And Liam, let's hear your controversial take.
My controversial take is it's a weird one. I've read stories and I've watched stories that do it really well. I don't really believe in greyness for characters. Like, that's just my thing. I've seen your story does it very well, Midge. Among Thieves, it's MJ Kuhn's book. It's that was one of the ones that presented to me correctly how it should be done. And the other thing was House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones to a point, because I've got an annoying memory, so I can kind of keep track on all the shitty stuff people do and all the good stuff people do. So it's kind of like a scale to me where it never meets in the middle, it pushes. And by the end, like, I can count up how, the nice things you've done and the bad things you've done, and whichever has the higher number, that's what I'll consider them.
Liam, you're like the Paragon Renegade system in Mass Effect, but in human form.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea what that means.
Amazing. I can't believe I didn't say that first.
Oh, dude, it's basically, it's like a morality system in the Mass Effect video games. And it's just like, are you a paragon? Are you like a beacon of human like goodness? Are you a renegade or a piece of shit? But then there's also so much like,
gray area in the
middle ground of this. Like, it was literally
talk back and forth.
It was a bar that moved back and forth.
Yeah. Also, Liam, you should play Mass Effect. It's incredible.
Yeah. I've never played it. I do think though, I'm a big Shakespeare nerd, so I really I adored this show. I really did, to a weird degree actually, because I'm trying to work out how to word it. Sorry. I think the main. I don't know any of the names of the actors. That was one of the things I couldn't get memorized. But whoever plays the main princess, Queen, both of them, every Emmy, everyone, cinematography, crew Emmys, doesn't matter, just give them all. They would it's like the performance of the year for me. Just both of them, not just for the character itself, but like the actual the strength to actually swap and then have a tug of war with it, with themselves, and then actually come out at a specific point instead of it just being left up in the air. Like, there was no way on that last shot that you didn't know what the person was thinking. Mm-hmm. There was no way you don't know where the story's going to go from the last shot, and there was no words, just a face. That's all you need to know. Paddy Considine, I was expecting good things from him anyway, because I've seen Dead Man's Shoes, and
Dead Man's Shoes, such an amazing movie.
It is. He's a very intense actor, so it was strange to see him softer as a character. And I did think Matt Smith was gonna be not bland. I haven't seen him in anything really. I didn't think his character was gonna be suitable, but I was really shocked by that, how they turned that around. Because I've just thought, he's just either going to die early or he's going to be bad. And the fact that they kept it bouncing around until the very last second was very welcome to me. And I'll stop there.
Well, Liam, you're kind of going off on a track that I want to go on anyways, which is I want to split this review discussion into two halves, because there's 5 episodes in one sort of time period, and then there's a time jump in episode 6, and it jumps ahead, I think, 10 or 12 years, something like that. So we can kind of go through the first half and comment on things like character portrayals, as well as big moments and relationships, visuals, story structure, and that kind of stuff. So the first half of the season, we have Paddy Considine as King Viserys. For me, an amazing portrayal. He did a really good job. It's Dead Man's Shoes for me is fantastic. And it's kind of really cool to see the versatility of this character. And like you said earlier, Miltos, is George R.R. Martin didn't really write these characters with a strong personality in the sense of the characters that he has in the Song of Ice and Fire, but it's he imbued this character with so much gravitas. And then on top of that, it's Rhaenyra, the princess, the daughter, she's portraying, a 14-year-old or something like that, but she fucking killed it. She was incredibly, strong tempered in terms of what she wanted, and there was also this really interesting family dynamic in terms of like, what are the expectations of the Targaryens? What's the expectation of a princess? And then Damon is the one for me who's just like, I know Matt Smith from Doctor Who, and that is it. And for me to see him in this role, I'm just like, man, the range that people kind of brought to this show in terms of their acting performances was exceptional. And then on top of that, you have Alicent and Otto. These are kind of like the main 5 characters from my perspective. Alicent is the daughter of the Hand of the King, Otto, and all of them also brought a lot of power to their roles. It's like each of them had a distinct personality. It's like Rhaenyra is very strong, tempered, and very, impulsive, whereas Alicent is she's like the perfect princess. It's like you do what you're told, And from the perspective of royalty, it's like that's what they want. You put on that face, you do what you're told. You're going to marry a dude who's like 4 times older than you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you go seduce the old man.
Yeah, like go talk to him about like his model King's Landing and just, be a seductress. And this is like, it's really fucking gross. But at the same time, it's like she played it super well. And Otto, for me, is kind of like drawing a little bit on Littlefinger in the sense that he has a very powerful role as Hand of the King. But once it ends with him, what else is there essentially for his ancestors? So it's like he's doing a little bit of that political machinations where it's like, I'm going to get my daughter into the role of queen, no matter how just disgraceful it is from a modern parent's perspective. But at the same time, it's like it all played out so well. It's like I mentioned earlier, I really connected with these characters, and that's the thing that I think the first half of this season did a really good job. Miltos, you said it was like a slow burn. Rings of Power was also a slow burn, but it did not succeed in what it was.
It was slow. It was one of those. It was, I don't know, it was like wet cloth trying to burn. It was kind of, you kept having to keep lighting it.
Yeah, it's just like someone
so much.
Yeah, it's like someone with a lighter that only sparks and no flame comes out. It's like, fuck's sake, just. But House of the Dragon really set up those characters in a strong way that for me achieved that slow burn of like, I am engaged with what they're doing, despite the fact that so many of them, tread these lines of being despicable, whether it's blatantly despicable or kind of like underneath the many layers of royal what's the word, showmanship, or just royal just bullshit. Yeah, tradition, all that kind of stuff.
That was what I thought was the villain. Sorry.
It's okay. Miltos, do you want to give your thoughts on the first half of the season in terms of its characters or
I just want to follow up with the Otto Hightower that you were just talking about, because I think there's one scene when he is leaving and he speaks to Alicent, and he gives that really sincere talks. First time you see him really talking like a father about how you have to do this because your life is in danger. You are my daughter. You must not let this happen. And it's scenes like that which I really respond to, because I think I would have liked another. It was very interesting when he gets sacked. You don't see him again. It's not like Littlefinger. You'd see him in a scene somewhere else doing some kind of scheme.
In a brothel.
I find Otto Hightower a very interesting character because on the surface, he is an arsehole, right? But then when you really dig into it, I don't know how much ambition, like personal ambition. I feel like he isn't like Littlefinger in the sense that I don't believe I feel like he's quite authentic. And he's like, he understands how things work. And so no matter what he does, no matter who he sacrifices, i.e. his daughter, I think he does deeply deeply believe that he's doing it for the sake of the realm. I think that he thinks that Viserys, like Daemon does, is a weak king, and I think he has the responsibility of keeping the fucking realm together. So I find him fascinating but he doesn't give off any nice vibes ever, right? And I think I would have liked one more scene like the one when he gets sacked and he talks to Alicent, and because I really believed it. I went for the first time, I went, he's got a point. And I think that is the beauty of the slow burn, and the fact that those young actresses were so good, and not just so good, but that the casting was amazing, because you just saw there was no shock to the recasting. Maybe the fact that we knew it was coming and that we had been told, and it is impossible to avoid that was going to happen. We were ready for it. Do you know what I mean? Subconsciously, even if we might not be unconsciously. And I think because of that, it made the first. And I really like, as I mentioned, that fact that they turned Alicent and the princess from strangers, or not strangers, but they didn't have that friendship. They weren't they in the books older than I think Alicent's older.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 years older. Not too much. It's like she's kind of like more.
But at that age, 18, she's pretty grown up, isn't she?
Yep. Yeah, she's like a young woman, whereas Rhaenyra is, barely a teenager.
And so I liked that, and I liked the it felt like they chose a very strong theme, MJ, with the labor, the war on a woman's body, like when it's mentioned explicitly, but then it happens 3 times and it's horrific. And I kind of appreciated it, but I was like, they're really underlining this. And I'm conflicted, because it was very visceral and it was very powerful, and it really made you understand what it must be like. But then but the time jump, what the time jump does is that you see that that's how brutal it is. And then the next thing you see is the princess with like how many children? She's like, done.
Right? I mean, she's a superhero.
I know we crash into her in labor, and that's pretty, powerful, and having to go and show the baby immediately. But that, so I'm conflicted. I really liked it, but that thing where your brain and your heart kind of go, maybe that was just a little over the top, in the same way that I feel with Larys Strong. I liked him initially, but now he's full on pantomime villain, and I don't know if it feels like it's in the same show. I mean, it kind of is. He feels it's just the fact that he's always there with always that kind of weird look on his face, and I almost find that he has a special relationship. But anyway, those are the only two issues I have with the storytelling. I wonder with a different director whether next season they might tone it down. But it's so arch. It's so arch. From an actor's point of view, I just go, wow, okay, that's a bold choice. I mean, he already has a fucking deformed leg.
And that was not on anyone's bingo card, I don't think, the foot fetish scene.
Yeah, that for me was a bit like,
what?
We'll get into that a little bit later, but I think... Sorry, just one thing I wanted to comment on, Miltos. The scene between Otto and Alicent, and the fact that he's saying, like, this is kind of like for the good of our family and the good of the realm type thing. Whereas Viserys, on the other hand, where so many people view him as a weakling, gave Rhaenyra a choice of, do you want to be queen? Like, can you handle this? And she chose yes. In which case it's like that was a conscious decision on her part, whereas Alicent was thrust into it for reasons that were placed upon her by her father. But MJ, do you wanna get in on this?
Yeah. I like Viserys as a king, for starters, for that and for the like weakness that he has. Like, obviously, I know that the world that they're living in doesn't allow for delicate loves of history and paper mache cities and all of that stuff. Like, I understand that, but I still loved it.
Your cute little hobbies.
Right? You know what? He can have his hobby. But also, like, I just liked. I think that I agree that Otto has the realm's best interest in mind, but I almost feel like there's like a dichotomy there between he's having no faith that the realm can grow to accept a queen as their ruler versus Viserys also is trying to have the realm's best interest at heart. I think. But he maybe has more faith in them for being able to accept that and move forward. You know, and I think in general, in A Song of Ice and Fire and all those things, maybe having faith in humanity is like not the best course of action, but
yeah, but that's
so maybe Otto's right.
That's from our external point of view that we can say, yeah, just don't even try.
Right. Yeah. Just like, well, okay, I guess Otto, go for it. But yeah, no, so we're talking about the first half with the younger actors. I very much enjoyed that take, that section. I enjoyed the whole season. One thing I kind of want to like talk about a little bit though is the Daemon and Rhaenyra
that weird
pairing.
scene. Yeah, the weird scene in the brothel.
Here's the thing. I agree that it's a weird scene. I'm not sure if any of you are on TikTok. TikTok was so thirsty for that scene.
What? Really?
Right. And like, it just got me thinking because it's so, and then I was watching more carefully how they're framing. And I know this kind of bleeds into the next part where we'll talk about the time jump part, but the framing of Rhaenyra and Daemon's relationship in general compared with like the framing of like Jaime and Cersei in Game of Thrones, right? Like Jaime and Cersei is framed as like an abomination of a relationship from day one, which like, I mean, it's incest and you know, as general society, no. But like, so is Rhaenyra and Daemon. But in addition to incest, it's grooming. Like she's like, what, 16 in that scene? And he's a grown ass man. Mm-hmm. And yet like the show even frames it later on. Like people were cheering and like stoked when they hooked up. Like, I'm so serious. No, this is the internet that we live in. People were like shipping it and like very excited that they were paired. So I just thought that was an interesting exercise in framing by the show because they really did frame it as like, this is a shippable couple instead of like, oh, this is a predator and his niece. So that part was a bit odd. I find the character of Daemon absolutely fascinating. I think Matt Smith did a really great job playing that fascinating character. I am a fan of darker characters, but like, ooh, all the people that are like, oh, Daemon, so hot. It's like he's murdered. Like he murdered his first wife, like so that he could bang his niece. Like, guys, raise your standards.
Yeah, it's good, but it's what's so great about his performance is because he's not you've got to be careful liking that character.
Yeah.
He's so unlikable that he's just captivating.
Then he circles back around to fascinating. Yeah. I agree. You can't take your eyes off. Like he's very fascinating on the screen and he does a great job with what he's doing.
I think
complicated.
Go
on.
I think people have a higher tolerance for weird problematic crap than they think a lot of the time. I think the last couple of years have had people like projecting like a stronger defense for it, but like the best art kind of makes you question your own like sanity, really, like in terms of what it makes you believe and what it gives across and the framing of it. And the incest part, I started laughing at the incest part. Like I'm that childish. I will laugh. But somebody I know, and they were in one of my film classes. They watched the film, and it was one of the those art films they make in like Denmark, where it's always about either something violent or something sexual or both. It's a stereotype of that type of world of art films. But this one was a Romeo and Juliet style love story between a brother and a sister. And the way they framed it and the way they wrote it, they put the audience, apparently, they put the audience into such a tight corner because there was no harmful ramifications with their relationship whatsoever. And everyone was trying to tear them apart. And in the end, my friend who watched it ended up saying, "Leave them alone. They're in love." Because they couldn't have children. They were just in a relationship. They were secluded on on their own little island. And like they had the police sent after them. And it was just like the director and the filmmakers were just like poking the audience, going, go on, support it. You know you want to. And it worked. And I think that a lot of it came across in this show as well, because so much stress going on like in the scenes just before that moment, like all the with the broken houses and someone was in like a deathbed, and another person was in a deathbed, and someone was I don't know what was it, there was also like people circling the islands about to take over. You could tell something was coming, something big. And then they just had that scene on the beach. Like that was, sorry, this is later on, isn't it? Sorry, I'll get to that bit later. But the earlier parts in the brothel and stuff like that, the way they handled that, I thought that was a bit of a black spot in my memory, because I can't remember what Damon did afterwards. He just disappeared. And
he got really pissy and then like put on a hood and
yeah, that's where I was wondering why.
He put on his crime hoodie.
Yeah, his like absurdly
why
large, just like clownishly large hoodie. But I think he went to the Stepstones and just decided to like go fight over there.
Oh really? Because
Yeah.
I thought it was some sort of PTSD thing, but because you see a scar, and then I was there going like, is he coming back? And then it said like he went off with some other woman. And I went, did he? And then we see him wake up with I think she was French or Caribbean. That I can't remember. I don't know her name either.
Yeah,
the one with the heavy accent.
The what was it?
White Worm.
White Worm,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
He woke up with hair.
She's a great actress, but that accent was very weird.
Yeah, she. I had to like.
I can't get past it. It really upsets me.
It was like Franco-Caribbean.
I find it so irrational, but I can't help it.
I did like have to get used to that, but I do think it lent some sort of authenticity to like the scope of the world and stuff like that, because everyone speaks the same. Don't deal like a lot of people, like even people from like the other side of the volcano go, "Hello, how are you?" That's how they speak. And it's very strange being from Britain and knowing like the amount of accents that we have
just within Britain.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay with them having posh only, because usually they bring in posh people to do my accent and they don't do it correctly, because they say ing properly, and we don't. I say in. But I've lost my train of thought. Right. There's a couple of scenes in the early half of it which I loved, and there was just usually the quietest ones. I like quiet scenes. I like people talking to each other, and one of my favorite things watching the actors is you could see like the Shakespeare coming out with them, like just little bits, like the very toothy performances sometimes, which it was like they were trying to shout to the back stands, even though there was cameras right there. But I like that because this is a lot more cartoony than Game of Thrones, I think. Like the books are, I think, very cartoonish. So I've heard. Like the appearances people have are all like strange. Like they have like blue hair and an orange mustache and a chin that goes up to the forehead, and they look like a banana Like that's what like people.
I don't know what show you're
describe,
watching, man.
I don't know, and I know there's some man with wacky blue hair. Like
Yeah, it's Dario Naharis, the guy that's
does he look like that
whatever.
in the show?
No, not quite.
Well, that was what I did appreciate, like how big and wacky this part felt. You know what I mean?
But that kind of goes into the chamber drama nature of it. It's like these are small scale scenes, but with very loud voices and people who are kind of like, you know, voicing their opinions in very for me, like it was like this combination of like strangely bombastic and oh my god, your dog is so cute.
There's a dog. Oh my gosh.
It was like this combination of like bombastic, but at the same time, like very sniping and subtle. You know, there's like so many conversations that I loved, you know, despite the fact that there was a ton of great action scenes, you know, Damon fighting in the stepstones and just killing this like really fucked up leader of the Trident. And just being a badass and just like, I'm just going to run for this cave because nobody else is doing anything properly. But at the same time, the conversations and the dialogue was so sharp. And for me, that's what kept me invested. You know, the conversations in Driftmark between Rhaenys and her husband, and, you know, the way that people spoke privately versus the way that they spoke publicly. Like in front of the Iron Throne, people were very confident to say like, I support Rhaenyra, like I bend the knee, blah, blah, blah. And then behind the scenes, so many of those same people just like never going to let a fucking woman sit on the Iron Throne, you know, and then doing so much different stuff to out manipulate each other. I think for me, that was one of the best aspects of this first half is like the characters being used with their dialogue and with their interactions with each other to really establish firmly the tone of the politics and the drama that were going to take place over the course of the entire season. And for me, it set the stakes, it established the world, it gave you a sense of like how these people view each other. And I love that private versus public dichotomy, because it's like you're just like so manipulative behind the scenes, but then you're just kowtowing in front of everyone to their faces. And that's the thing that works so well about Viserys. Publicly, he was loved, but behind the scenes, everyone thought he was just a weak piece of shit. You know? Yeah.
Well, that lends to the like reality, right? Because people are like that. Hopefully not like to that extent, all of us, but like to some extent, right? Like we kind of chameleon a little bit depending on the audience that we're, you know, presenting for. And I think that it is missed sometimes in fiction just for the sake of trying to keep a consistent character. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I appreciated that too, that there was a lot of, you know, sniping.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that whole thing about the hierarchy of power is really well drawn. I mean, we have it like, you just imagine like like a political leader, the kind of conversations they have in private. And it's weirder because we hear them on the television and on the TV talking to us all the time. So we think we know what they're like, but we also understand. I mean, don't think most people think this, but we know the reality is that they're completely different, especially when you realize how much they swear half the time because they're so stressed out all the time. I find that the most fascinating.
Or like Obama just like chain smoking cigarettes because he's like, I'm the president, it's fucking stressful, just give me a cigarette.
What's the worst thing that could happen? I just wanted to before, in case we're going to move on, I just wanted to say what my favorite, not necessarily from a storytelling point of view, but in a way it is my favorite scene was in the first half, and I think it's in the first half. It's just before the battle at the Stepstones when Damon decides to take them all on by himself, is when the message is brought, and they do the director does this brilliant thing where first of all, Matt Damon doesn't say a word throughout it, but they do a thing where they kind of they blur out the sound So you kind of get this sense you're in his head and he can't hear anything. And it's all kind of muted until he starts bashing the messenger to bits. And I thought that when they do that, that is, for me, that's the thing that gets me most excited, is that how do you get inside characters' heads? And there is a way visually and orally to do it. And that's the great thing about some of these directors that they've got working on this TV show. They really, and also the series directors. Ryan, I imagine, is a huge contributor to allowing that kind of almost avant-garde, like most of the time you just shoot the scene. You don't have enough time to do anything else. But that was a really great choice in the edit. I thought I thought that's where the money is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of very evocative body language throughout the season. It's like these characters speak volumes just with their performances in terms of body language. Especially, I found the scenes in the I can't remember what the name of the room is, but the room with like the big table where it's like the council meeting room, all the scenes that take place there, just like the simple things, like each of them, when they arrive, they place a polished stone into their little thing. And then there's a scene later on.
Theatre act.
Oh my God.
They're all theatre actors. This is the thing. This is the big difference. Theatre actors, you have to act throughout your whole body. And so that's where you see it. Because they get it, they understand that the telling the story has to be in everything.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant, and that's why for me the transition from the first half of the season to the second half was as smooth as it was. Obviously, like outside of the show itself, it was telegraphed. The showrunners were saying like there's going to be a time jump, so it jumps ahead, I think like 12 or 14 years or something, and there are some characters who remain the same, and other characters who are completely changed. So Rhaenyra, the princess, she completely changes to a new actor. Then Alicent as well. All of the children, you see them grow up and how they become mostly pieces of shit. But and then some characters like Daemon and Viserys. Viserys was aged up in like a well realized way, but Daemon was more or less the same. He just kind of had like a middle-aged housewife haircut. That was like his big change.
He had a midlife crisis haircut.
Yeah.
Is what he was going through. Viserys is like actually aging.
Viserys is like, I'm balding and shit. And, But for all of you, MJ, I'll toss it to you first. Did that time jump for you feel like it worked in terms of like storytelling and character building and stuff like that? Did it make sense to make that time jump in order for the rest of the season to pan out the way it did?
I think it definitely made sense. I think it worked. I will say one thing that I hope happens in season 2, because I know we've talked a lot about how this was kind of a little more, foundational and like slower in pacing as far as like pow, pow, action goes. But as far as like pacing of like the how rapid events are occurring, it was very quickly paced, right? We covered like 15 years in 10 episodes, which one of the things that I very much enjoyed about the early seasons of Game of Thrones was that like they're going to travel from Winterfell down to King's Landing. That's going to take like 3 episodes, right? Where every time we hop in on this crew, they're on the road. Yeah. And I appreciated that kind of more, it just made it feel a little more lived in, which like, I'll be fine if that's not how, season 2, House of the Dragon, it's a different show, right? It's not the same show. But I did miss that kind of, just really marinating in the characters and like experiencing the world and the events and grieving with them in real time almost. I did kind of miss that aspect a little bit. That being said, they had a lot of ground to cover to set up the Dance of Dragons very quickly. So I'm good with it. I was nervous about it though, but with the casting and the writing in general, I think it worked for me. So
yeah. Liam, what about you?
Well, I'm an anime nerd, so I'm used to time jumps in shows. Not used to the actors getting switched over. That was quite hard to take in episode 6 and 7 because I missed the actual actors, the performances they were given, and then towards the end, it started to meld together.
Mhm.
I really I'm not sure that they couldn't have done it any differently without a time jump. Like I like the fact that they structured the entire show to be like not just one in the middle. There was like I don't know how many there were. There was about
there were some mini time jumps in there for sure.
Yeah.
It's like they changed actors for the kids like 3 times.
Yeah, it made me laugh how many times they had to keep on alluding to the time. Like it's been 6 months. They said like 3 times in like episode 2.
Wow, son, you've really aged quite a lot in the last 8 months.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Masturbating to the citizens of King's Landing.
that was unexpected. Do you know what? Actually, those actors seem to be playing each other's roles. Like because the little round kid who gets his eye knocked out, he's got a little round head. He ends up being the pointy tall child.
Sorry, Amond.
Yeah. And the pointy tall child ends up being the little round one, like the Donald Trump, Boris Johnson style Kingman. Which I do think that's what they were going for. I couldn't separate politics from it at all. Like when I seen is not Rhaenyra, the
Rhaenys.
Yes, when I seen her, and I went, "Oh, Hillary Clinton." As I live and breathe, nice to see you. I just couldn't get that out of my head. So I was watching it all through this lens, going like, "Where's this gonna go? Where's this gonna go?" And then we have episode 8, which is episode 8 was the cancel culture episode where they have like the argument around the table and rumors starting to persist, and then someone stabs at someone like, and you've gone too far. Like I know, but she said, he said. Like that's what it reminded me of, and we've seen a lot of that. And I was kind of getting sick of that before this show because so many projects are about like saying the wrong thing is bad, but being cancelled is worse. I mean, whatever that means. And it's also about Donald Trump, which is kind of like the new 9/11 for America, isn't it? Like it's as in, not to be rude. I mean it not. Like that's how I have to see it. It's how I have to put it into perspective. I have to have these little labels.
Dude, that is brilliant. It's like the monumental shift in American culture. 9/11.
Yes, that's a way of saying it. Yeah, exactly. So every villain is a horrible, hulking, rapey man, and that's what this king was. And when he did that, and there he is. Like I was looking for you. What's his name? What's the older kid?
One of the
Aegon.
million Aegons, yeah.
Yeah, one of the million Aegons. That actually did get to me a little bit because I ended up getting a spoiler in the show, searching someone's name. Only the once. I only searched the once to find out who Lucaria was, and because everyone kept saying Luke, and then it said
Lucerys, I think is.
That's the one. Yeah. I think Lucaria is a Pokemon.
It is.
Everyone kept saying like, you know, his death was really shocking. That was before I'd seen it. So and then about 2 minutes later, after me googling, it basically pointed and went, "That's him." And should I just waited? My fault. But yeah, can we go into the other half of the show?
Well, let's get Miltos's opinion first about the time jump. Did it work? Did it work for you, Miltos, in terms of like jumping ahead those years? But also, like Liam mentioned, it's like we had these little smaller time jumps of the kids just growing up very quickly.
I think the unfortunate thing, I think the death of Lucerys suffered because I think we got to know the other kids much better. We got a real sense of their personalities, maybe because they're so different. But what's their actual dad's surname in the show?
Strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Strong Boys. I felt like we were supposed to. It's the one thing. It was an amazingly well shot see, I mean, that dragon riding stuff, I don't know what they're doing with the special effects and the brocking bunkos, but the movement of the camera was like unbelievable. I've never seen that kind of stuff on film before, and that was very, very clever. But it was a shame that I wanted to care more. Is that a terrible thing? I just feel like we didn't get to know them as well as the silver-haired boys. But I mean, an amazing scene and ultimately shocking. The fact that when he leaves, it's thunder and light. I mean, you already, that sense of dread, it's just awful. But the time jump, I didn't have a problem. I think it just is a problem when you feel like there's a lot of characters you've got to know, but you needed to get to know a few more a bit better. But as far as the acting and the transition, it's really well done. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the actors that took over for the ones from the first half, by the end of the season, had done an exceptional job. Where it's like they matched the performance of their predecessors, but in some cases, especially Rhaenyra, elevated that performance to a whole new level. You know, by the end of it, it's like, I'm so invested in you. And just like the way that she handled that miscarriage was brutal.
Well, and the way she handled herself in that entire last episode, where it's just like, to me, I was like, yes, this is the leadership, where they're thinking, you know, oh, she's being weak. It's like, no, she's being measured. Yeah. She's like taking a beat. Think about what's going to happen. I mean, now she's probably not going to take a beat because, you know, her son just got nommed up, but like,
dragon.
But you know, I really, I think the acting was brilliant on their part in that episode, particularly when they're all around the table and everyone's shouting at Rhaenyra what she should do, and she's like standing strong, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, but I felt like the second half of the season was kind of like, it's taking all the pieces that the first half built. You know, we have this growing tension between the Blacks and the Greens, between the Hightowers and the Targaryens, and then at the same time, it's like so many things that were hinted at in the first half of the season became a reality. So it's like, okay, there's this like weird grooming stuff with Daemon and Rhaenyra, but then in true Game of Thrones fashion, they hook up. But I thought it was kind of cool that there's like all these games being played in terms of like, okay, I'm married to my cousin, which is like, is that any better? But so Rhaenys's son, who she's married to, and you know, who is gay, and they made this pact. It's like, you enjoy your fun and your diversions, and I'll have mine, and I've got my strong man, and I'm gonna have some strong boys. And it's clear, it's like, you're brown haired in a world of silver haired people, so it's kind of obvious. But I love that growing dynamic of like, you know, the questioning of the legitimacy of these children, the intergenerational stuff. It's like the children kind of, even though it's really just this weird fucked up family tree. So it's like the children of Viserys and Alicent are actually like the uncles of Rhaenyra's children.
Rhaenyra's children. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. But it's like they're all around the same age. And so there's that like that conflict between them. There's the conflict between Otto and Daemon and Viserys and Rhaenyra and Alicent. So I thought that was really well done in terms of escalating the tension more and more. And I felt like the character progression felt overall quite natural, where it's like Alicent becoming a little bit more, you know, a little bit more like caught up in the political games that are kind of necessary given her role, even though you can see that she's a little bit conflicted coming from this really sweet, dutiful woman.
Well, I keep seeing people comparing her to Cersei. And I think that that's a bit of a miscomparison, because I do think she has so much more. Now, I mean, I loved Cersei as a character. Let's be clear. Yeah. I thought she was fascinating, but like, she was a stone cold bitch. And I mean that in the best way possible or the worst way possible. But like, Alicent is she is very conflicted. I do think, and in the part where she was like, no, we are not going to honor my late husband by murdering his daughter and his grandchild. Like, we're not going to do that. And I was like, I love it where it's not so black and white, right? It is very like, I'm not necessarily rooting for Allison, but I love that we still see those glimpses of humanity. It keeps them from becoming those kind of mustache twirling villains, right? Which I think is important to keep the nuance of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like they're gonna, kill the girl that Aegon impregnated. They're gonna give her a tea, they're gonna give her some money, send her on her way. She knows that she needs what's the strong guy's name? The one with the messed up foot. Laris. Yeah. So it's like Laris, she's like, oh, you're disgusting, but I need you, but I'm gonna like get your foot fetish on. And that was a really weird scene. It's like there was no preamble there. It's just like, why is she taking her feet off? And then
her shoes off. Yeah, I was like, oh, she's getting cozy. Okay. I don't know, whatever. I take my shoes off to get cozy, whatever.
Yeah, it's like I'm next to the fire, and then it's like, no, he starts jacking off. So that's a But I thought shift. Yeah, but I thought it's like, Rhaenyra getting married to Daemon and them faking out the death of her husband, and then him kind of going off to go on his
his best life. Yeah, we hope
live his best life over in Essos or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was just like a really natural progression I felt from what they established in the first half to what they kept building on and hoped to achieve in the second season, especially with those political machinations that were established and how that kind of progressed. And then that oh shit moment where it's like, oh, Viserys, man, it's like you're pleading for everyone to just get along. And it's like, I'm sorry, you're so sweet. And your face is like falling off from gangrene, I assume. But this is a Game of Thrones property, and not everything ends so beautifully and simply. Liam, do you want to get in on this?
I loved how guilty Matt Smith's character looked all the time whenever he was near him towards the end.
Yeah.
Because I'm a twin, so like I completely get like, about like you empathize a lot with your siblings when you're a twin. So whenever I see scenes like that, it always makes me dead sad. It's one of the, I'm very like that's one of the things to actually trigger me. But I will actually say a bit of a trigger warning if anyone needs one, because there was one scene that had me like bawling my eyes out, and I'm not even ashamed to say it. It was Diana, the girl who was got attacked by Little Lord Fuckface. What's his name? What's his name?
No, let's just call him Little Lord Fuckface. I like that better.
Yeah, Little Lord Fuckface. It was the shaking, because that's the shaking was horrendous, because that's that's like a specific detail, like a memory, like because I've heard stories and it was just one of those things where just I don't know how old that actress was. She looked about 12, but she might have been like the other child actors and a bit older, but it was just the most like natural trauma response I've ever seen from an actor ever, besides like Tom Hanks and Captain Phillips. So I was just like bawling my eyes out watching it, going like, I'm sorry, like on behalf of men, I'm sorry, and I'm going to turn the show off now. I didn't turn it off, but it was just horrible because it was so specific. It was like a little like stab in the heart, just like, because it was not a character you concentrated on. We hadn't even been introduced to it. And as soon as the scene is shaking, I went, oh shit. Like, because as I said, story. And then that just came about, and then Alison was kind of turning on her way. But they handled that really well with her character, because the conflict was obviously there, but she didn't just say, go away, slap, silly girl, me, like they would in like as more villains thing. She did hug her, and she did know the money wasn't enough, and you could see it in her face, just hitting her like self-loathing when she was doing it. And then she slapped her son, and it was one of those. It was just very empathetic, like from a show, like, and refreshing to see this actual like story told properly instead of glossed over like some sort of like two comic book panel thing of, oh, look, set dressing. So that was like very, very like affecting. Like it is genuinely haunting. Like but I think that's what it really does well though. Like the show, it does these little pinprick moments where you're just not expecting it.
Yeah. And Miltos, what was your thing? What were your thoughts on the second half in terms of like how the characters progressed, or as Liam is talking about, you know, like moments that really stood out to you? Because I feel like the show had so many moments that I was just like, oh God, you got me in the feels, or you got me like wanting to half throw up, like cut a dude's head in half in the throne room.
That was my mate. That was.
That was your friend? Oh,
I was going, oh, it's so nice. Will's getting a nice bit of juicy acting in this show, because he's been on the periphery, you know, until that episode, and then he was like in it loads. And I was like, come on. And then when he started saying what he was saying, I was like, uh-oh. I don't think this actor's going to be in this show much longer. And lo and behold. But you know, I definitely thought the second half was much stronger. Not that the first half wasn't, but there was some stuff. The only thing that really bugged me, and I understand why they did it, because it's not in the books. And I really do understand it, because it gives Alicent a reason rather than just hating the princess. But I don't believe for 1 second that she would have seen her husband in the state he was, and he would have said that, and she would have immediately thought, oh, he's obviously talking about our son. She's too smart. So whether she's justified it to herself to make her believe that this is the right thing, it was it was an addition that the writers put in to create some tension with the character. But logistically, and the trouble is that this is where when I'm completely wrapped up in a show, the craziest shit, you can throw the craziest shit at me and I won't even notice it, because I'll be so absorbed. But I know when I know that I'm not, it's because it's not working. It's because I'm like, whoa, what have you just done then? Because I didn't believe it. She's too clever.
And he wasn't lucid enough.
No.
You know.
It's been like that for weeks, probably.
No,
I kind of always interpreted it.
Yeah.
I interpreted it from the beginning that she was hearing what she wanted to hear, though. Because I totally agree with you. I think she's too smart to be like, oh, you said Aegon. You must mean Little Lord Fuckface should be king.
Little Lord Fuckface.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I
think
sweet little fuckface.
Little Lord Fuckface.
But MJ, do you think it's like her kind of remembering what her father said to her and creating
I think.
Creating this concept of like, it's for the good of the realm, and this is kind of what my father has imbued me with, and I can interpret this in a way that I want it to be this way, as opposed to
that is my
reasonably
take.
Like understanding that to be,
because if you look at what she says to Princess Rhaenys, like I think it's the very next episode where she's like, we're not meant to rule, we are the mothers of rulers, right? Like she says, I forget exactly what she says, but it's something to that effect, where it's basically like, sorry, we don't have penises, we can't rule. And, you know, I think that she is taking that from Otto's stance of like, the lords of the Seven Kingdoms are never going to accept a queen as the ruler. And she's like, okay, well, if we're going to hold this together, my son is the firstborn, you know, son of the king. He should be ruling. I choose to twist Viserys's dying words in this way so that I can make myself feel better about going against his wishes when he was alive. Because I agree. I don't think she's dumb. I don't think she would actually think that he meant Aegon, their son. And
I think the thing that really made it ring true to me in that scene with Otto is when he says that if you don't do it, she will. And I loved it. I didn't get enough of an impression that Rhaenyra had that in her. I don't know
if she does. I think Otto's talking her into that she does. I don't know that Rhaenyra would do that.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
I
it does mean that the blacks are portrayed as the heroes so far. As far as I'm concerned, I can't quite see a way of me ever accepting the Greens' case that this is a good idea. So that's the only issue with that. But I don't know if that's important ultimately. But I don't know. I think ultimately they want us to. I would have liked to have just seen one. Maybe there is, and I missed it, or I don't remember it. But you maybe can help me. But whether there was ever a moment of ruthlessness in Rhaenyra.
I don't think ruthlessness. I think she's just impulsive. And then as she got older, she learned to channel her. Like, she was impulsive. She decided to like start kissing her uncle, you know, on that beach. It's like, let's just go like have sex in the skeleton of a dragon or whatever. I think that
my favorite is her getting the horn with her uncle and then having sex with Crispin.
Yeah, Sir Kristen Cole. Yeah, Crispin Cole.
Yeah, and look what happened there. You know, I mean, that's maybe that's the most ruthless thing she does is just use him and the poor thing doesn't know what hit him.
And that's why he came back and he's like, I'm dedicated to Alicent. I didn't age a day, which is like good for you, buddy.
Right. Good for you. Yeah.
You got some really good. You got some really good like Westerosi like aging creams or some shit.
Botox.
But then he was super, like he kind of adopted the most ruthless attitude, I think. Like, he felt so betrayed and he's like, you know, oh, this guy, like I'm just gonna slam his head into the table in the council room and that little like polished bead is going straight into his temple. And at that moment, like, I just, what the fuck? Because it was so unexpected. The like you were saying with your friend Will, it was like, okay, you're talking shit, you're gonna get killed. Yeah. It was obviously surprising when his head got like cut right in half here. But then that dude in the council room was like, the fact that he just like out of nowhere, boom, slammed
not
your head
a proportional
like,
response to what was going on.
Exactly. But the fact that everyone else is like Otto and Alicent kind of like Alicent reacting to it, Otto just being like blank.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But Alicent, that was kind of that moment where I'm like, okay, she's willing to do some pretty ruthless stuff in order for her children to become the king. Yeah.
I have to say, like, I've been like in similar position to Alicent, not ruling a kingdom as a queen, which, well, you know, he is hoping. But you know,
giving birth to like Lord Fuckface and stuff.
I've only had the one. No, she's got an obsession with truth and lies, and when that was the thing that separated her from Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra was truthful at first, but then willing to lie to her, and she's looking around and seeing everybody behaving differently to how they are. She kind of sees through the bullshit of the show. Really, she's kind of a meta character in that way, where she just wants to have the truth told to her and not be belittled. It's ego and narcissism, but it is also like the abuse she's suffered at the hands of a weird dad who's like raised her to be this like on edge like machine person. And that's kind of when I noticed she snaps, is when she said, you know, what they're saying is lies, and she knows for a fact it's not. So she goes against Rhaenyra. But at the end, I think, if I'm reading it correctly, well, it's not just a thing really, but I do think the end, she makes her own truth. Like, she's so obsessed with it, and she's been lied to, that she goes, well, if everyone else is going to do it, this must be true, because he said it, and it must be true. Like, he said the words. Like, so she's kind of doesn't grow away from the need, the pedant. What is it? I almost said pederasty, which is not the right word. Pedant is a pedantry.
Pedantry.
That's what. Yeah, she doesn't outgrow that. She takes everything really seriously. She like, she's always like picking at her hands, isn't she? Like, she's always cutting into herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like nails are where people paint them, so and they're buffed, and like nails are a nice symbol of a lie, really, because that's not, they're always taken care of, they're always manicured, and they have a facade on them. So that's what I got from that. But yeah, I just think she had an obsession with truth, and they had to lie to survive the other side.
Mhm.
So she just carried on doing what she was doing and told the truth, which was exactly what he said, whether he meant it or not.
Yeah, and that's what has me really excited for season 2. Honestly, it's like after the ending of this kind of 1-2 punch for me is like Lucerys and Aemond having their chase. And to me, it's like it still felt like a very childish thing to be like, I'm just gonna chase you with my giant dragon. You got your little baby bitch dragon, and I'm gonna chase you and taunt you. But this is very much this idea of these children trying to portray themselves in a more like adult light, you know what I mean? And so them losing control of their dragon, losing control of both of their dragons, and then him getting nom-nommed, Lucerys getting eaten by this giant dragon, and then the scene following up of that sucker punch of just like Rhaenyra finding out, Daemon telling her, and then her, like you said, Liam, turning around, and that face just like boom. For me, was the perfect setup for season 2.
Yes.
So, Miltos, do you want to give your thoughts on that ending and what your hopes are for season 2?
Like I said, I don't know, because we've got to the beginning of the war, and I don't really know how quick or how long that goes on for.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like next season is going to be, it's going to be very, very different to the first season. It feels like that's the big thing. If they can balance that with enough of what made season 1 really good, then I think then it will be fantastic. And I have no reason to think that it won't be balanced like that. I don't think it's suddenly going to go into full on set pieces, so that's exciting, and that's really what I'm looking forward to. But I'm also looking to see how these characters, because of course the beautiful thing about this story is that you don't really know. It doesn't end well, but you don't. Then the process of getting there is going to be really exciting, and I think I'm very intrigued to know how they. I don't want to know, but obviously part of me wants to know what their vision is for the how they're going to tell the actual arc of the story, because they could drag it out, but I don't think I don't think it is. I think it's going to be 3 seasons, 4 tops.
Mm-hmm. But that for me would be good. It's like much more succinct. Top it at 4 and keep that.
Because you can do a lot. You can see. This is another example where you can see what when they got their eye on the right thing, how good it can be, and how so obviously from MJ, when you said that moment in Game of Thrones when it changed for you is exactly the same time it changed for me. That season, I was like, okay, this is different now. And of course, now we've got that's why the last 2 seasons just felt like set piece after set piece without really all the stuff. That stuff with Littlefinger, it was like, I have no idea what was going on in that season. That's so-called espionage, double dealing, double crossing. What's Arya up to? What's Sansa? I didn't care because I didn't understand.
Exactly.
I literally didn't understand. There was no tension in it. I just thought, what's this stupid game they're playing? It's obviously supposed to be important, but it just goes to show you that how little energy they had once they didn't have source material.
Yeah.
And it was tragic, but it is what it is. But it's so exciting to see that it's there. All it takes is people with the right imagination, that's all. And also with the right kind of spirit, they knew exactly what the tone was. And I could tell you, I'm not going to tell you because it's not my story. And so, but I know a couple of actors who are in the other prequel that got cancelled, and that was a very, very messy thing indeed. And whatever you know about it, it was much gruesome, much more gruesome than just going, oh, we decided it wasn't good enough, we're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of other kind of political money things, a lot of very crazy stuff was going on back then. So after that story, because I know one of the actors who was in it, who got sacked, it was like, well, after that, it was like, okay, they literally have lost the plot. They're just doing it to make some money. So I think this is just goes to show you how you know, with the right people, I still say that it's that cast with that material, you know, thoughtful, sensitive actors who are really looking at the situation that they're portraying and bringing a lot of humanity to it. And I think that is what is making me excited for next season.
Yeah, I agree. And MJ, what about you?
Yeah, so obviously the ending sets it up for craziness in season 2. I assume all hell is going to break loose, right? I have to say, I really appreciated them showing them losing control of the dragons, because that is something that, like, it's not like it bothered me. Like, I'm accepting that there's dragons and magic. Like, I can suspend reality, but like, these are gigantic sentient creatures, right? Like, how much control does the writer really have over them?
And Viserys mentioned it earlier in the season. He's like, these beasts are, you know, pretty much out of our control. And then you have Daemon doing his like fire dance, which is really cool. And then you have these children, and it's like, they're fucking kids. It's like, you don't even give, like, you give them a bicycle, sure, or like whatever Westerosi bicycles look like, but you give them a dragon. It's like,
bicycle. Yeah. Right. And that's, so I really did appreciate that inclusion. But I agree that we didn't see enough of Luke for me to feel like extreme grief at the character's death. However, for me, that still landed, and it still was like very much a reminiscent of so many Game of Thrones episodes where it cuts to black and I just go, you know, like, what just happened? Because I know what it means, right? Yep. Like, someone has died, blood has been spilled, right? Someone took the first shot. Now it's going down. So yeah, I'm super excited for season 2. I hope, I hope for a lot of things. I just hope that they slow the pacing as far as like the time jumps. I don't think we're getting any more time jumps, right? Yeah. So I hope that we're able to just kind of like really sink into these characters and like feel what's happening as it happens, instead of kind of constantly playing catch up as time goes really fast. But the main thing that I'm like, and I haven't read Fire and Blood either. So anyone that's listening that has read it, sorry if this is like very elementary, but like, I hope that Daemon killing his first wife comes back to bite them in the ass when they go to the Eyrie. Like, like, she was a fantastic character. I fell in love with her within her first 30 seconds on screen, and then she dies like immediately.
With Daemon wearing his ridiculous hood.
With his crime hood. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it will come back.
I'm not here with malcontent.
Right? Like, it's not me, no. It's just, you know, my little crime hood. But I think it will come back to bite them in the ass, because when he was, you know, they were at the wedding or whatever, and the guy from the Eyrie came up, it was like, not even a Targaryen could do this. Like, I assume someone related to his first wife is in charge and is going to give them the big old bird. So
especially when they're all looking for allies.
Yes.
Just like,
yes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the people that are like, oh, we can trust the Erie's on our side. I'm like, Rhaenyra, girl, did you forget your husband's first wife? We might need to just think about that for a second. So just
maybe think about the fact that you're number 3.
Yes. right. Like, a pattern here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my hopes for season 2.
Nice. And Liam, what about you?
2 points. A Westerosi bicycle is a sex position. That's the one. And number 2, this is a shitty answer, but I completely agree with everything you two said. I want all of that for season 2. That's completely agree.
Just like mic drop, boom.
Right. Check
Fucking
Urban
hell.
Dictionary 24 hours after this episode drops. Someone's
Westerosi
going to
bicycle.
write out what a Westerosi bicycle is.
Oh my God.
Very good.
I cannot follow that up. I agree. I agree with both of you. It's just like, keep up that character development. Keep the pace consistent. Because I feel like towards the final stretch of the season, the pacing was really good. And there was a lot of this really fantastic action, but it was balanced well with the dialogue that I have come to adore from this show. It's like the way that these people talk to each other, the dialogue, the way that it's written is fantastic. So like you were saying, Miltos, is like, I hope they don't go too heavy into like set pieces. It's like, this is a people drama and we need these people to really stand out because that's what makes this show what it is. And
I'm sure that that's kind of the approach. I reckon it will be one of those moments where I think they will take more liberties with the source material so that they can stretch it out. And if they stretch it out, then maybe it is going to be more than what I think, because they could turn the war that is depicted in the book to something that is much more where you see the behind the scenes of the war, instead of the set pieces of the things that are obviously reported, the carnage, which of course they will do. But I think they get that balance of keeping the politics and the like, what is the behind the scenes of the war, which I'm sure they will do, because that is, I mean, that's Game of Thrones, isn't it? That's why we love it. It's, I mean, I was just going to add that my favorite part of Game of Thrones was everything at King's Landing. I could live without the rest of the stuff. My favorite stuff was wondering who was going to get it in the back next. That was exciting.
Well, you're just biased because you acted in King's Landing and you got stabbed in the back.
That's true. That's true. Oh my God.
I'm just so self-obsessed now. I'm just fucking with you, but yeah, I really think that they've established something really strong here. The foundation and the focus of the show is something that I don't think they would falter on, that because that is what people have been responding to. MJ, you were saying people on TikTok going weird about the incest, this whole debate online of like the Greens versus the Blacks. Everyone's focused on the people, on the characters.
I
think that's what the show really did well, and I think that's what's going to shine in future seasons. But you know, Miltos, MJ, and Liam, thank you all for sailing the narrow seas with me today, and I appreciate you reviewing this show. It was really, really great to hang out with you all. And if you could just share with everyone where they can find you on social media. So Miltos, I'll start with you.
I'm on Twitter as at Miltos Yerolemou, and I think I'm on Instagram is my friendly side. So that's the place where people need to go just for like photos and pictures of my dog. That's Mr. Atlantis, 1972. I think that's it. But anyway, you put my name in up somewhere.
I'll get it in the description as well so people can click on that. But yeah, thank you so much. And MJ, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me across all social media. So Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at MJ Kuhn Books, all smashed together.
And your book is Among Thieves, which I highly recommend everyone go check out.
Yeah, thanks.
if you want some fast-paced thief action, it's a really good one.
Right.
And Liam, what about you?
Just Google my strange name if you need to find me. LIAM.
Liam Quane.
And I'm on Twitter. I'm on Vero, which is my main site. I go on and Facebook, and just my Twitter tag is specificity A, which is a funny word and a funny letter. Just seek me out if you want to.
And your book is Road to Juno.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and Liam, you also got some short stories and stuff out too. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not recommendable. No, I don't.
Humble as always, my friend. But yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time today. It was great hanging out with you.
A real pleasure. Pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. This was so fun.